Hey everybody, what's going on? Alex B here today, and today we're going to be changing the oil on our 2004 Pontiac Grand Am. Now, changing the oil on your cars is a very simple process, and it should be done every 5,000 to 7,500 miles, depending on the type of oil you use. Some of the things we're going to need for this job include oil. In this case, we'll be using Valvoline Max Life Synthetic Line High Mileage Oil. Now, the thing about high mileage oil is this is designed specifically for engines over 75,000 miles. Now, with this car having 217,000 miles on it, I think this car would definitely benefit from this oil. Now, in the last oil change, we did use this Napa Premium Performance synthetic blend oil, and it served us well, so we figure why not go with synthetic again. Next thing we're going to need includes an oil filter. In this case, we have an STP oil filter. This costs about $3, and according to the people at AutoZone, this is a good filter. By the way, the oil costs about $26. And the next thing is completely optional, but we're going to be using it because this car has 217,000 miles on it, is Motormedic Motor Flush. Now what this does is it cleans the passages of the engine to make the oil flow better and overall make the engine last a lot longer. Now this costs about, I think it was about $5 to $7. And for this job, you'd be probably spending about $40 for a full synthetic oil change. So why not just do it yourself at home? And finally, one of the special tools you are going to need is either an oil filter wrench, which we do not have. So instead we will be using these channel locks to break the oil filter loose. Next step for changing your oil includes jacking up the car. But first, what you want to do before you even start jacking up the car is you want to get in and you want to pull the parking brake, so when you put the car up on jack stands or whatever you use to hold the car up, it does not roll back. But first, since we are using the Motormedic Motor Flush, we're going to actually pop the hood open and add that directly into the engine. But before you add the motor flush, you're going to want to check your oil to make sure it's in the hatched region, which means that it is at the proper level. So in this case, it looks like we are at the proper level. All you have to do to add the Motormedic is crack open your oil cap, crack open the Motormedic. In this case, it just says to add Motormedic to cold engine before changing oil and filter. And then you're going to idle the engine for about 5 minutes. So we just crack it open, add it in. You're going to add the whole thing. There we go. Let's add it in. Just going to cover that back up. There we go. And now, next thing we're going to do is start the engine. Now with the Motormedic in the engine, you're going to let the engine idle for about 5 minutes to let it run through the engine. One important detail I forgot to add about when you do this is do not drive the car. You're supposed to just let it idle and let the motor flush run through the engine. So it's about 12:25 right now. We're going to let it run until about 12:30, 12:35. Now the engine's been running for about 5 minutes now, and the reason it's making that knock-knock sound, it's not the rod's not here or anything, it's just because the belt tensioner is loose. So I have to adjust that later. Now after we've let it run through, we're going to drain the oil, but first we have to jack up the car, put it on jack stands or whatever you use to hold the car up. For me, it's going to be a couple of wood blocks since we don't have any jacks. All you're going to want to do is, since we are using the jack that came with the car, we're going to want to slip it under the car to the jacking location, which in this case is about right there on a good piece of frame, and then just jack this up. Now with the car jacked up, you're going to want to get your drain pan. In this case, we're just using an old storage container. Slide it under the car towards the drain pan, get your socket, and bust the drain pan bolt loose. Then with your 5/8" socket, you're going to want to slide under the car with it properly supported. Grab onto the drain bolt and break it loose. In this case, we broke it loose successfully. You'll want to have your drain pan ready, and I should probably have gloves because this could be hot oil. Now with a glove on, you're going to want to carefully unscrew the drain bolt and let the oil drain out. This should take about 2 to 3 minutes for it to completely drip out. It's been 2 to 3 minutes. You're going to try to get back under here, move the pan out of the way, screw your bolt back in, and after it's tightened, you're going to want to get your ratchet here, tighten it back up. Careful not to over tighten it, you just want to get it about yay tight. If you really wanted to, you could look up the torque specs and get a torque wrench to do this, but we don't have that. Next thing we're going to do is the oil filter. Now where is it? Right here is the oil filter, this white thing. And if you're not able to crack it loose with your hand like I am, you're going to want to get your channel locks there. Grab onto the oil filter and then crack it loose like that. So now it's cracked loose. You're going to want to unscrew it with your drain pan underneath, because this is obviously full of oil. Grab it, unscrew it. There it all comes. You really do want to have gloves on for this. This is very messy. And here's our oil filter. Just gonna drop that in the pan, let it drain like so. It's in the pan draining. Next thing you're gonna want to do is get your new filter. So let me grab that. You're gonna want to take some of this old oil here. Just put a nice thin layer around the filter. Provide a good seal, and it'll make it easier to take off next time. You just want to slip your old filter up to where it belongs. Make sure the old gasket isn't there, which in this case it's not. That'll prevent double gasket, and then if you do have that, that'll make a oil leak. So just want to get the filter on there. You'll feel it when it catches. You're gonna want to get it nice and hand tight. Filter's nice and hand tight. Next thing you're gonna want to do is add the new oil to the engine. First, before you do that, you're gonna want to jack down your car, take it off the jack, so then you get a level reading. So we're just going to throw the jack up a little bit so we can get it off our wood. Grab our wood here, pull it out, slide this back down.
Promises don't mean a thing.
Boom. Now you've got the car jacked down, now you can add your oil. Now this car takes about 4.2 quarts. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your Valvoline Max Life, crack her on open, take the seal off, then you're going to want to take your oil cap off. Careful, the engine can be hot. And top tip, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pour it sideways into the engine so you don't have a lugging motion. But first we're going to use a funnel so I don't get oil all over the place. You're going to want to make sure your funnel's clean so you don't get any crap into the engine. Throw that on and start pouring in your oil. Make sure your funnel's clean. Take that out and then put your cap back in. And we'll start the engine, let it run for a few seconds, shut it off, check the oil level. Now it doesn't seem we have any oil warning lights, so I think we're good, but we're going to let it run for a few seconds, shut it off, check the oil. Well, check your oil. In this case, we're about 3/4 of the way there, so we can add a little bit more in. That should be enough. And you're going to want to check your oil again. Having it a little bit overfilled is okay, but you don't want to have it massively overfilled. And with the oil at the top level, you have successfully done an oil change on your car. Overall cost for this was about, I would say, $30-40. And you saved about maybe 5 to 10 if you brought it in for a synthetic oil change. This requires about maybe 30 minutes of time. It took me 30. Your car should be good for another 7,500 to 10,000 miles. Thanks for watching, everybody. Alex B out. Peace.